What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again. And this time we are here with Danko Jones. It's great to be able to talk with you today, man. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. So the newest album is Power Trio, and this is going to be a real epic vibe of classic rock. I think I do see this being a rock classic already, and I can't wait for people to hear it. Do you, did you just intend for this to be a continuation of Wildcat, or was this meant to be kind of like a new beginning in a way for Danko Jones?
Uh, our last album was a Rock Supreme that came out in 2019, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2019. Yeah, no left turns, just another rock record. And when the time comes, usually it's every 2-3 years to make another rock record. We don't have any kind of discussions as to where we're going to take it. We just write a bunch of songs, and whatever comes up in that period of time of songwriting is what we're left with to tour on.
hmm Do you ever start off the songwriting with like a preconceived idea of what you want it to sound like, or is it completely trial and error, improvisational, and it happens very organically?
No, we're just a rock band. We just, whatever sounds good usually is the song that gets kept. That's pretty much our guide as to what we do.
Yeah. Well, I felt like the world of rock has completely changed, from the eras of Beatles to Rolling Stones to GNR to, a lot of modern day bands such as Shinedown or Three Days Grace. Like, is there like a specific era that you take inspiration from, or is there like a specific sort of time period that sort of inspired you the most in a way?
Uh, Not a specific time period. There's a lot of bands that are inspirations, but it's culled from 60s, 70s, and 80s usually, and then also different kinds of genres of music. I mean, I listen to a lot of rap music and a lot of metal, and they managed to have those sounds managed to have an influence in our sound somehow,
hmm
uh, or lyrically or something. But no, there isn't a specific time period. I think that's why it's really hard to nail down a time period that we get inspiration for us. But we do. I mean, I call ourselves a hard rock band. That's pretty much all. And I think the time period for hard rock was in those 3 decades, really. I mean, you mentioned Shinedown and Three Days Grace. I don't really consider them to be hard rock bands. I think now we can step back and kind of categorize those types of bands as modern rock. Because I don't really feel that they're hard rock at all in the traditional sense.
Yeah. What do you think like a rock band sort of needs to have to give that sort of hard rock edge? Because I mean, there are, plenty of us suburban soccer moms out there who would look at a band like Creed as like devil music in a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess in their world they are. But you know, it's all relative. I listen to so much. Probably you do, and anyone listening to this listens to a lot of different kinds of music and a lot of music that it doesn't stop at modern rock bands or whatever is right in front of you, and you tend to want to go deeper on things. Um, so, what was your question? I just
The
heard soccer mom.
no, no, no. Just because like what does like hard rock sort of like have to have in order for it to be hard rock?
Oh, right. I think it has to sound uh, well. It has to sound traditionally hard rock, and those sounds usually emanate from the '60s, '70s, and '80s, with the instrumentation of it. Guitar, bass, drums, vocals, um, and of course there could be outside influences like we bring it in. But I consider what we do like hard rock music. Obviously, it's made in the 2021 or in the 2000s, so it's not going to sound exactly like December's Children or Jailbreak or something, or Back in Black. So it is what it is, but definitely taking from those inspirations directly, not pretending that we're not wearing it on our sleeve. We come from punk rock, and there's so much other musics that have come into play. Noise rock from the '90s, and rap music, like I mentioned. So all that gets funneled into what I think is a hard rock sound that's based on bands like Lizzie and the Stones and Sweet and Kiss and Cheap Trick and all that stuff.
Yeah. Do you think, because it's broadened so much when you look on how much it's evolved, do you think that there's like an unlimited amount of experimentation we could do with it? We went from, rock and roll to hard rock to, heavy metal, which is subcategory of rock, and like, there's punk rock, and it's evolved so much. Do you think, like, this may be kind of like a silly question, but do you think we're almost like running out of stuff that we could like add to it? Do you think that we're entering a time where everything has already been done?
Oh, everything has been done. I really don't see where you can make something new and call it hard rock without it being something completely different, which is fine. I think hard rock music is old music at this point. It's not the most popular form of music. It's not even in the top 10 uh, popular forms of music. None of the millennials or the Gen Zers call it their music. Um, and that's fine. In fact, it's kind of getting, for such a long time, hard rock has been uncool. Um, and the fact that it has a chance to go underground now might give it a chance to get cool again. And I think hard rock is going or has gone the way of jazz. Jazz used to be the coolest music and the music that all the kids listen to. And now it's relegated to, late night programming and weird clubs where you got to find it, and nobody wants to go to those clubs. And it's found in here and there. I mean, we just played our first show of the pandemic 3 weeks ago in Calgary, and even though it was a live event and people were there to see us. It wasn't our show. We were cast as like the background music while everybody drank or mingled or whatever, which is crazy, but that's what everyone was doing there. And it made sense because that's what hard rock music has become. It's just something that you put in the background. Now, if you bury it and you forget about it, and it's out of sight, out of mind, I think if you can marinate, it can become cool again that way.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And it's funny you compared it to jazz because you're right. I feel like jazz and rock and roll have had like the same sort of historic, like their timelines are almost identical in a way where like, people thought jazz music was evil and then, it was the most popular thing in the world and then it kind of went underground. I think rock is now starting to be that thing that like is going to really the volcano was dormant for a while, but I think it's going to erupt again soon.
I don't know if it'll erupt, personally speaking, and you could say that this is exactly what people were saying before Guns N' Roses put out Appetite for Destruction. People were saying the same thing. It's all boring now and there's nothing new, and then poof, they came out. But I think we've reached the point where everything's been done, and they could easily say that about jazz. Oh, just wait, and in a year or two, there's going to be this hot jazz person who's going to come out on the scene and reignite the scene. Well, no one's going to come out and reignite the scene. You can't best Miles Davis and Coltrane. You can't, uh, redesign the wheel kind of, thing. And the same goes for rock at this point.
I
There's
agree.
so many points you can take from. Everybody will say, okay, it's to the newbie listener, it sounds fresh and new, but you're taken from that band and that band and that band, and which is fine. I mean, that's what we do. But
Yeah.
to reignite it or to have the volcano sort of erupt again, as you used, I highly doubt it. For me, that's how I see
Well,
it. What instead is in place is a vast back catalog that can be, that you can. I still have to go through, so many hard rock bands that I have yet to discover their discographies thoroughly.
yeah. There's a lot to be discovered. And you know, what's funny is a lot of people, and that's how I discovered you on Uproar Festival 2013 with Alice in Chains and Jane's Addiction.
Oh,
And that was a
yeah.
great time. That was a great summer. Like, and what I've noticed about your show is that, like, I felt like, you know, the older generation who was there to see Jane's Addiction and Alice in Chains appreciated you guys, but you know, the younger generation who liked Coheed and Cambria or Circa Survive also like appreciated you. So I think Danko Jones kind of like is a bridge between generations in a way, which I think there are a lot of bands that do that, and I consider you guys to be one of them.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, we've been around for 25 years, so there's got to be some sort of bridge.
Yeah.
Um, and we never went gold, we never went platinum, so we can't rest on any kind of past laurels. There's no, in any show that we play, we're not that band that everybody waits for that one song and then the crowd explodes when we play it. we don't. We're not. We're not Sugar Ray. We're not Motorhead. We're not. Kiss or anything where we have those songs that
Yeah.
everybody's waiting for. So, in a way, we're still a contemporary new band where we're pushing the new songs, and those are the songs we're going to put in the set. And people are going to recognize the new songs sometimes even more than the old songs because that's the stuff that's out there in everybody's face.
Yeah.
So it's weird, and that's the kind of cool thing about it. I mean, of course, I would trade it in if we had like 5 surefire number one hits that we could always play, and no matter how much we put the audience to sleep, the moment we play those songs, everybody lights up again. So I'd trade that in a second. That would be nice, but it is what it is.
I was interviewing the band I Hate God one time, and their singer told me a story that he saw Europe play, uh, and when Europe played, they had to open with the final countdown and end with it. Like
Yeah,
every
they do that. I know.
yeah, so I don't.
Those guys we've actually played with Europe. I mean, and they're nice guys too.
Yeah.
But they're putting out new albums. And there was one time in 2015 or 16, we played this TV show in France, and we were the live act of the show. But their guest, who was just sitting on the panel, was Joey Tempest from Europe because he was there to push their new album. And so it's this yin yang thing where they have this song that not just defines them, but it is used in culturally all over the world, and they're stuck with just being known for this song. And no matter how many albums they put out, no one will ever listen to them.
Yeah, which I think.
But at the same time, they will always be asked to play till they die. I mean, they're never going out of vogue because there's always another year to usher in. So it's like a happy birthday situation. You could be an amazing musician, but if you wrote Happy Birthday, you're gonna, or the band that wrote the Friends theme, that's what you're gonna have to, you're known for. And it's a yin yang thing because definitely you'll always have an income basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a double-edged sword because, like, you know, as an artist, you want to progress. You don't want to, like, be enslaved to past success, but at the same time, like, it's also got to feel good that, like, you know, Bon Jovi's been able to play the same songs for, what, 35 years or something like that?
Well, I mean, if you look at it realistically and you don't devolve into some sort of arrogant, pretentious bullshit that a lot of, I think, people in bands do, and you look at it kind of objectively, it is almost impossible to make a living as a musician making original music that people want to hear and people are interested in. If you can achieve that, you have won. Now, if you can actually achieve them appreciating one song over and over again for the rest of your life and beyond, you have reached a level of success that few ever get to. The Stones never got to that. So, even the Beatles, I mean, there's a few songs that they, like the Stevie Wonder got, I just called to say I love you. That kind of level of song, few get. And if you get it, I having gone through it and knowing how hard it is to be a musician, playing original music, if I ever achieve that, I would appreciate the hell out of it. I would quietly complain to my family or friends,
Mhm.
but I would never publicly complain. I would always just go, "Yeah, we're gonna play this song again," and and just yeah, source of income for the rest of your life. Who doesn't want that?
Yeah,
It's
I interviewed Foghat yesterday. I interviewed Brian Bissett from Foghat, and he was playing with Wild Cherry and play that funky music. And he even said it feels good to say I was pretty much at every wedding since that song came out. So like,
yeah. I God, if we could all be so lucky to have that one song that everybody just will always play, because everybody's always going to have a baby or always fall in love or always get married or always usher in the new year or always have a birthday. Yeah, it's don't the Beatles have that song, or is it Paul McCartney's song?
it's the
um
Beatles. It's the Beatles, I think.
is
I
it the
forgot.
Beatles? Yeah,
Yeah, I
so I
forgot which
mean,
album, but
everybody plays that song, you know what I mean?
yeah. But there is also the essence. Isn't it also true that every hit song in the last 30 years uses the same four chords?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure someone's cracked the formula. I'm too stupid to have cracked it, so we just keep making these dumb rock records.
Well, they're definitely not dumb, man. They're always fun to listen to, and I think Power Trio. I think really Power Trio is almost kind of like everything coming full circle for the band too, because I think it has, it has like hard rock, no questions asked attitude. It definitely has all the formula that you have, but I think it also continues evolution. I don't think it's just beating the same thing into the ground. I think many of your fans are gonna find this to be their favorite Danko Jones album.
Well, thank you. I mean, but I, I also like, I also do not like progression. I don't think it's worth all that it's cracked up to be. Um, I like it. For a band to find their signature sound is hard enough. If you can find it, and people are the judges, not you. But if you are able to stumble on your own signature sound as a band, and then which is hard enough to do, uh, identifiable sound, and then to change that, I think you're an idiot.
Mm.
So bands who have stumbled on their signature sound and who stuck with it, like Slayer, ACDC, the Ramones, and Motorhead, were smart enough to stick with the sound and keep and know that that's the victory. That's if you can achieve that. So that's what we do. We do just write. The next record's going to sound like this one. I'm sure it'll be different for other people, but for me, as someone who's writing the lyrics and the riffs and stuff, I just want to make a continuation of the last record, just like and then you look back and then you see, oh wow, like Power Trio is miles different than Born Aligned, but that wasn't deliberate. It was all just trying to make more rock.
Yeah. Well, Guns N' Roses, I thought demonstrated progression because Appetite has a lot of differences from or Use Your Illusion has a lot of differences from Appetite, and I thought that I love Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 just as much as Appetite. Some cases more because I find myself in the mood for it more than Appetite, especially in these depressing times. But I don't know. I think progression works one of two ways. I think that there is and people like to crap on Metallica for the changes they made in the '90s, but the Black Album is one of the biggest albums ever. Like clearly it worked in their favor. And so I think progression, now I'm not expecting you to write, like bubblegum pop anytime soon. Please don't. That's too much of a drastic change. I think evolution, if you let it happen naturally, I think it will work in your favor one way or another. My opinion.
Well, Metallica are an interesting band because I agree with you with the change on the Black Album, and they still maintained the metal. But a lot of the other changes, and I think that's what spurred them to make further changes down the line in their discography. The only problem with that band is that they came up with the title, the name of their band when they were, young kids. And so they will always be saddled with the word metal in their name. And so they have to do metal. It's like if I called my band the Country Boys and we started and then we put out a rap record, well, it just, or vice versa, it just doesn't make any sense. So I'm sticking with the script that they wrote. And so they're the ones who call themselves metal. And there's been, as you know, there's been some you know, side paths that they've taken from the the metal pathway that they said they were going to take. So when it comes to that band, especially out of all the bands, they're the one band that can't change their sound, and yet they do. They're not supposed to. It's in the name of the band.
Yeah.
When I
Well,
go to a record store and I start looking at the rap section, I don't expect to find Slayer there.
yeah. But, I like to mess with diehard metalheads and say that everything before the Black Album sucked, and everything they didn't get good until they got to the Black Album. That's one way to really anger some metalheads, even though I probably earned myself a couple dislikes on this video for that.
Uh, I mean, I agree with you on that. It's fun to piss off people, but I'm just sticking with the script that the band wrote themselves, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm saying from the get go, we're a hard rock band, and really, if we put out a rap record, then yeah, the slings and arrows our way. So a lot of the criticism for that band, Metallica, I think were warranted simply because they put the name of the music in the band name. You know, it's just the soul singers are not going to put out a record that sounds like overkill.
Yeah.
It's,
Very, very.
so it's just they're saddled with that name. If they had chosen kind of a looser kind of name, things would have been different. Like Coheed and Cambria, you can make any kind of music with that name.
Yeah.
What does that sound like? Porcupine Tree. What the hell does that sound like? So it gives you a little more leeway to experiment with sounds. Even Motorhead, it's got to be fast, man, because it's in the name of the band.
Very true. Very true. So
I'm not trying to shit on Metallica at
No.
all. I'm just saying I'm following the script that they laid out from Kill 'Em All.
fair enough. Fair enough. And I'm glad you're honest about it. And I think that I like that you're opening up discussions. And I hope that this spawns a comment section on YouTube longer than as far as the eye could see. But is there just anything else that you would like to promote for Danko Jones before you go with the release of Power Trio? Like is there any tours lined up that we could be expecting, or anything else you'd like to plug?
Well, I mean, we're playing shows every 2-3 weeks from here till September, and then or maybe even till December from what has been talked. And then we have a European tour from April to June booked for 2022. I hope that happens. And festivals have been announced for 2022. And this Power Trio album comes out August 27th. And while we're talking, we just released our fourth song off the album publicly called Start the Show, which features Phil Campbell from Motorhead playing a guitar solo.
Oh, hell yeah.
So
Awesome.
that I mean, the album's called Power Trio, and why not get the guitarist from the greatest power trio that ever was, or the heaviest, or the most powerful power trio that ever was to play guitar on an album called Power Trio by a trio. So it's more like tipping the hat and paying tribute to Motorhead, and I think Phil did a great solo on it too. So I'm really happy about that.
Awesome.
And I would just like to say that my Metallica comments are in jest, in fun, because I find a lot of the time that I've commented on Metallica, a lot of people are very, very fanatical, very serious. They take any criticism about that band to heart, and I don't think fandom should be that blind.
I agree,
think there
100%.
should be some. I think there should be some leeway to humor, and bottom line, I was a Metallica fan before any of them were. So screw any negative comments aimed my way.
Fair enough. But thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Danko Jones. Be sure to pick up Power Trio August 27th. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.